What up, y'all? It's your man Sam, and here at Viral Hip Hop News, and we are live on this beautiful Thursday evening. It is 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the East Coast. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, good evening, good afternoon to you. We are in the building for another very dope artist spotlight with a very dope brother. Before we get to the proceedings this evening, you already know how we do, man. I'm gonna warm the crowd up a little bit. Let some people come in the building, get comfortable. You know how we do. Drop your area codes. Let me know where you'll be watching, where you'll be listening from this evening. Like I said, we got a dope artist. You know what we do over here at Artist Spotlight. We do independent entrepreneurs, music artists. If you own a brand, if you are a professional in a certain profession, come on the platform and talk about it. We have great people on here. We had a inventor of a book bag that was absolutely incredible. We just talked to a glaucoma specialist yesterday. We talked to a comic book inventor, designer, creator. Absolutely amazing the type of and variety of people we have on the show. We can't wait to get to know Linwood Jackson Jr., aka L Jack, a little better as he comes on the show. Make sure you show him some love. We're going to make sure that we get on his social media handles and we follow the brother. We're going to make sure we jump on his YouTube if he has a YouTube or he has any music out there for purchase or for streaming, that we support him. This is what we do over here on the platform. But drop them area codes. Let me know when you're listening so I can shout y'all out, man, and show y'all some love before we get the brother on. I don't know if y'all saw the Minister Farrakhan but speech. That was a very powerful speech. I have a piece of that up on Viral Hip Hop News right now. You guys can check that out for yourselves and then go over to noi.org and check out the interview in its entirety. But how y'all feeling, man? Come on, let's get some engagement. Drop them area codes, show some love, hit that like button because we about to get it popping this afternoon. But if we ain't gonna get no engagement, that's all good. Y'all can go ahead and get comfortable and warm up, and then we can get it popping in a minute. But let's bring on our guest this evening, Linwood Jackson Jr., aka L Jackson, on the show. What's good with you, family? How you feeling?
I can't even call it. Happy to be here, though. Happy for breath.
Indeed, man. I appreciate you first and foremost, even trusting my platform to share your music, to share a little bit of your story, and to get to know us as we can get to know you a little better, man. So let's just start off just getting to know you a little better, man. Where you from? You know what I mean? What kind of music do you do? Let the people know.
Boston, Massachusetts. My music, I feel like it's the way music should be. 90s kid, so I got everybody in my blood when I do my music. So I like the sort of melody type music, but it's hip hop. So it's hip hop. My second album that just came out, I'm singing on it and I'm rapping on it. And it's more along the lines of that enlightened vibe, inspirational vibe, that conscious kind of hip hop. And my vibe is just my life. I didn't start as a musician. I'm a writer. So my first book I published in 2017.
Nice.
My field is philosophy, religious philosophy.
Nice.
So along those lines of from 2017 even up until this point, the conflict of being in the publishing industry, um, being discriminated against for how I think, like forget skin color, discrimination against thought along with skin color is something else. Like the two combined, and that's what my music is about. My music is about how I'm turning that anger and that hate into something powerful, and I'm using my pen as the outlet, as that therapeutic session. And when I put it out, the response has been interesting. People are reaching out. They like what the tracks and the songs are about. Um, it's relatable because everybody's going through their own struggle, and it's a different kind of struggle I'm going through because I'm a writer. You don't really hear about discrimination in, for example, theological sectors.
Right.
That's what my music is about because that's what I experience. And so the vibe's just on that kind of tip, laid back, chill, hip hop, the way I feel hip hop should sound.
Dope. Now, for most artists, where they from, where they come from, and where they were raised, and who they are is kind of the canvas and the beginning point of their artistry. Talk about how Boston influenced you. Name some of the artists you may have been into growing up, and how your location kind of molded you, if at all, into the music style you have right now.
Yeah, it did. I mean, my background, like my grandfather's wife grew up seeing Malcolm X all the time in the barber shop. So my father grew up next to the Black Panther organization. So my my background from my dad's side, because my dad's from Boston,
Mhm.
my mom's from Barbados.
Okay.
So that I'm not a political person. They're not political people,
Right.
but there's just something in my blood that kind of fuels that sort of thought process to think differently. And I began writing poetry at 7. The culture of Massachusetts, the culture of Boston, um, going to school in the hood, growing up from elementary to high school, then transitioning out into another culture, and then leaving that, and then going into college into another culture, like 3 different worlds
Right.
I'm going through. But at that young age, even at 7, when I started writing poetry, I knew that something was wrong with society.
Hmm.
Couldn't put my finger on it, didn't understand it, but I was always raised, there's an eye watching you. And whenever I wrote my poetry, I wrote to that eye watching me, and that's sort of how that came out.
When did you take your writing and transition it into music? And who were some of your influences?
Influences would have to be Tupac, LL, Big Daddy Kane. Um, transitioned around 2007.
Okay.
So I began recording at that time, and then for the next 3 years I was recording, but then I stopped recording in 2010 because I realized that what I was recording wasn't as genuine as what was inside of me. I was
Hmm.
angry at that time. I was angry. I was angry at life. I was angry being a college kid in college and knowing that I'm going to graduate as an educated dummy. I wasn't doing the experience for myself. So I was mad at myself for not having a mind of my own. And I used music as that outlet. But as I was doing it, it was angry. And I wasn't feeling right. So I stopped music. And from 2010 up until 2018, I wasn't doing any music, but I was writing.
Hmm.
In that period of time, I was writing books, and I was writing books to later publish for the years that I'm now in. 2018, I picked up the pen again and started writing, and then I released my first single called Chance. And it was all of my experiences prior, building up to that point of me understanding life as a young man. And that song reflecting that even if you have a voice, even if you think you don't have a voice, just take the chance on yourself, because there's a lot of folks out there that aren't taking the chance on themselves, and you never know what you could pull back or who you could inspire from that one chance. So that was my first single, and then from then on, 2021, I released my first album called Self Esteem, because I had a New York magazine choose me as Young African American of the Year.
Wow.
And the article that was written about me was so distasteful to me and was a complete opposite of the interview of anything that I said.
Hmm.
And I called my first album Self Esteem because the article was written in a way to show that I had none.
Wow.
Where all of my experiences at that point I thought might have demonstrated that I did, but I took it as a lesson. Maybe I don't. So I called it Self Esteem, and each song on that album is dedicated to that one theme. And then in 2022, released my second album, Self Esteem Chapter 2, where that theme of self esteem, you're seeing it's just getting steamrolled over because
Hmm.
there's a transition that's happening, and that transition is again played out in every single song on that album.
Now, a few moments ago, you alluded to not only being discriminated against racially, but more so discriminated against your thought and your
Yeah,
ideals and your beliefs.
yeah,
And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of even correlates to the album, that correlates to the article, that correlates to what you dealt with in college. Like maybe these were steps along the way that you felt like this discrimination was happening to you. Can you speak on or expound a little bit on that discriminating against your thoughts and some of the experiences that you may have dealt with?
definitely. I study my foundational book of study are the scriptures of the Bible. And the philosophy that's within the Bible is not the Western religious culture that we know, whether we're Christian or whatever it is, else it is. The Bible being written Eastern philosophical standard, meaning that these minds, they, for example, did not envision a God man as a human being. They wrote in a certain way for us now living to understand that that's what they're talking about. But I like to look at the language in the context of the Hebrew. I break down the Hebrew language and restructure the sentences to get what the true essence is and the philosophy that's within there. So in my books, in my writings, I'm writing about the initial philosophy that is within the Bible, and it conflicts with what is taught in Western theological seminary type settings. And the conflict that I've been facing, or that I do face, is the conflict of, for example, religious journals not finding satisfaction in strictly a Bible taken philosophy. So the drawback of publishing in religious journals or dedicated Bible journals is that even though I'm giving Bible, this isn't what is actually wanted in the market. It's not Bible that's wanted. It's Bible watered down by psychology, Bible watered down by biology, Bible watered down by ecology, Bible watered down by some ology that's out there. That way it could be published. So when I talk about the discrimination of thought, it's sort of like I'm in an arena where thought is supposed to happen, and where thought generated is supposed to be appreciated. You can go in any sector. You could go in science, you can go in electricity, you can go in vehicles. Every single year, every 6 months, every 3 months, there is some sort of accepted activity. But when it comes to religious philosophy, the tenets are not so accepted if it deviates from what's accredited. And so when I'm publishing, when I'm speaking, the conflict against thought. And 21, I can actually celebrate because 17, I was public with my words and my speaking, and I was blackballed from different shows because of my speech, and was told you can't say this, you can't talk about that. If you talk about that, reframe it. And from many different shows, religious and secular, held back. But until 21, I actually received a contract for my own TV show on a religious channel.
Nice.
Which was completely amazing to me, but it was sort of like the vibe of my albums. Like that's the strike back, is kept me down for so many years, spoke against the things that I said, and now here is a television network that actually values my marketability. So that's what I mean by thought discrimination, is the hate for speaking against what is accredited and what is accepted, and then you're putting it out there in a context that they have not considered, but that actually is the context you might want to consider to help move forward your own theological standard principles.
I'm glad you broke that down the way you did, because it transitions perfectly into my next question. I want to transition a little bit out of your personal and into what we're seeing out here right now in regards to Kyrie Irving and Kanye West. I don't know how updated you are on the current situation, or how much you know about it or not know about it, whatever the case may be. But if you do know anything about it, what's your thoughts about what we're seeing out here? We're living in a day and a time where it seems like a little bit more of an awakening is occurring, where people are disposed to a lot more information that we weren't exposed to in our childhood or 10, 15 years ago, whatever the case may be. It's information is getting thrown at us now, and we get to kind of draw between the lines and see what was real and what isn't.
Yep.
And now we see what's going on currently with Kyrie Irving and Kanye West. What are your thoughts about what we're experiencing and what we're witnessing right now?
Well, I became concerned for it only because I studied the Bible.
Right.
I listened to some interviews, but I don't really listen to too much. But what Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, what they're going through and what they're saying, I think one, it has to do with we need a home. The the darker shaded folks are we have our history wiped out and replaced, and that's sort of a part of what I write about when it comes to the Bible is that the philosophy that's within the Bible, it has been wiped out and replaced with a Western European philosophy that is more Greek and Roman than anything else. And when it comes to that philosophy that has been wiped out and hidden, that goes back to the whole Hebrew Israelite movement, which when it comes to the scriptures, it's easy to see how that fits because you have a 400-year prophecy about a group of people in subjection in slavery. And it's easy to transition that mark of prophetic history to what happened in the Atlantic slave trade, to where it's been 400 years plus of slavery on a group of people enslaved. And in the track history follows, and then it just lines up perfectly to show that the scriptures were actually talking about that point in time for that certain group of people. And I think that what's going on is there is the African American community looking for history and looking for their place in history and looking for their place in history with scripture and using it as any other would do for themselves. When I look back at that record, and when I look back at it logically, that was fitting for one group. Um, and logically, the destination of what was spoken of was already occurring in Egypt. So the transition has to follow. There's a transition in scripture that follows a method or a pattern. And so we have to look at where the African community ended up in relation or in the context of what the scriptures were talking about. So if the African American folks ended up in a land where a pharaoh was ruling, for example, and where the culture of pharaoh was ruling and where the religion of pharaoh was ruling, there'd be more applicability to it. But I believe that it's just the people lost in history, lost with their history because we have none. It's been taken from us. And no doubt there were Africans that were Jews. This is historical fact. Um, there were African Jews. There were Indian Jews. There were Middle Eastern Jews. But I believe it's just a people, again, looking for the promotion of culture because we're looking for one and we don't have one. And what they're speaking out on, I believe it's a movement.
Stripping away the names and the titles of who they are, professional NBA basketball player, pop culture icon, and Kanye West, would you consider what they're going through discrimination in thought as well?
Yes.
Right.
It's I mean, mine isn't as public,
Right.
but the fact that you have like there have been shows, movies, books falsely applied to the Atlantic slave trade, false information, false this, false that. Nobody has said anything.
Right.
And when somebody has said anything, it's sort of like, oh, okay, they're okay. Let's just move on to the next thing. But when you have the African American community or population speaking up about the injustices against them, all of a sudden it's an issue. All of a sudden it's, whoa, they're talking about Jews? Don't they understand that the Jews went through this and the Jews went through that and the Jews went through this? Well, when they were hanging us up by trees from ropes around our neck, if you can go back into history and find that there were two classes of folks back then. I believe Confederate and Federalists.
Mhm.
So that means that there was a conscience of people up in the North differing from those in the South. So the overall population back then, same as now. So hanging folks up, you did this in its historical, and when we talk about it, we're the ones. It's assumed that we're the ones that got our own selves hanged.
Right.
But you've got Jews went through this, and you're going to talk about Jews that way? Where was the defense for this for the people that were hung for no reason by trees just because of the color of their skin?
Right.
Like it's off. It doesn't make sense, and it's clear that it doesn't make sense. And the discrimination of thought is there, and it's hopefully, I hope it's causing a stir, not just to get information, but to allow the information that's found to transition into a wisdom so that we can individually impact our lives and then others out in society.
Appreciate that. Transition to your music. Now, you gave me a song titled I'll Be. I listened to it a few times. Definitely enjoy the hook, enjoy the vibe. Very melodic tone, very chill, kind of like your personality. I definitely see your personality as it kind of correlates with the music for sure as I'm speaking to you. Talk about, before we play the record, the thought process behind it, who produced the record, the studio process behind recording the record. Talk about it.
Yeah, man, homeboy up in Serbia, Pasic. All my music runs through him. We're a tandem, linked up with him, and it's been like heaven ever since. It's really hard to find not good studio producers or good artists. It's really difficult to find artists that want to own their craft, go through the grit of getting something right, listen to that 0.5 seconds 30 different times so that you can understand how that can transfer throughout the entire track. Don't get frustrated. Don't get overwhelmed. It's hard to find minds like this, and especially when it comes to music or writing. And from the moment we linked up together, we clicked, and this song is me venting my struggle of I'm going to be exactly who and what I am, no matter what you say of me, no matter what you write of me, no matter where you allow me to speak or don't allow me to speak, no matter what I have to say, I'm still going to be presenting the same thing, and I'm still going to be touching the same people. I'm still going to be touching, they're going to have different faces, they're going to have different names, they're going to have different body shapes, but when they hear my voice all around this place, they're going to know that something is inspiring them to take control of their life, of their thoughts, and how they carry themselves as a male or a female. And this song is basically, doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you can do, I'm not here for you. I'm here for my tribe. And that's also something that I've had to learn, is that as an artist, you want to reach everybody, you want everybody to reach out to you, but your soul is intended, while you have breath in it, for a tribe. And this song is for that tribe looking for a tribe, and that person looking for their tribe, and that tribe looking for their person, speaking through myself and my experiences.
Dope. Well, without further ado, let's hear the record I'll Be by my man Linwood Jackson Jr., aka L Jack. Hey, while we're listening to the song, just shoot me a quick thumbs up. Let me know it's coming through clearly. You guys hear it all right? I want to give it an honest listen. So let's do it.
Said you were nervous about me, about me, about me. Said you would know it to stop me, stop me, stop me. And then you saw I was on me, on me, on me. Now there ain't nothing but I'll be, I'll be. how I can silence you. This isn't about how I did homage you. This isn't you said or a sign of proof. I did admit all that you did was root for a downfall that I can't into. Pursued you until there was nothing room. Not enough info was too of what I write up you infuse. And what you write of me is nothing new. Sign it to something beside us, cause I wasn't right when you started. Inside was a nightmare, I sneezed at you cause I'm allergic to liars. Then I came to die after I set empires on fire. I don't know how to say night, I'm alive and I'm conscious to light like a moth or a child that you cannot sit down and make silent. I don't know why then you wanna start it with me like I like it. You wanna start it with me cause I'm right, cause you're a hymen and I'ma fall in your vagina when I get the climbing up and you don't fight it. Say nothing cause the assignment I am in might have been mine if I kinda went out of my mind. I'm deciding to go for the juggler but the femoral another aorta. I can say over what you so anal for. I can debate over what you did, change your terms or what's your signature or how you murder her. You don't think we can see how you burn. You don't think we can see on the surface that you hurt. No words, I'm taking over first.
About
me. Said you would know it to stop me. And then you saw I was on me. Now there ain't nothing but I'll be honest, there ain't no way to stop it. I know that I do not want the fame or to be known by your what is name. It isn't about me, about your vague apparatus that you set apart is lame. I will die and live on in the same eternal, the flame of a vibrant flame, written unending, forever made into something you never can stop or fade. I don't know what is the problem, but I can't decide if it's love or some other beside it. Cause I know I like when it's violent. I'm silent, but pussy is psychic in your chest are iron. I am defiant, living on past all of life, and with writing and rhyming, I might as well cite it, assign it with him. If this knife is a suicide, if he lives after he dies, I am out of my mind. That's when I write, my hand never finds me saying it's a bundle of lies. I'm out of this world and past the sky. That all of the angels, the favorite, denied them their light and showed them the upside of migraine. This joker's conniving, he's not on no vibe, and I could go mindless, but who's like about me. Said you would know it to stop me. And then you saw I was on me. Now there ain't nothing but I'll be honest, there ain't no way to stop it.
Yes, I'll Be by Linwood Jackson Jr., aka L Jack. Dope ass song, man. Definitely catchy hook, clean mix. You take your craft seriously, and I appreciate that from one artist to another, man. So we just heard the record. You sang the hook too, right?
Yeah.
Talk about how you kind of came up with your sound and how you took the words and brought them to life in your music. Like, was there you know what I mean? I don't even know the words I'm looking for. Was it like a trial by error? Did you immediately go in there and say, yes, this is it, and just kind of let the soul and the spirit just let it out and you found your sound, or was there some trial and error involved with that?
No, once I well, my process is just weird. I don't really listen to hip hop consistently just because I don't vibe with it now.
Right.
But when I have like a YouTube suggestion about something, I'll check it out, and then if I like it, I'll get the instrumental to that song. So I write my music from the instrumentals of songs that are already existing.
Gotcha.
Which I'm sure everybody does, but
yeah.
But when I heard this, I wrote the song to the Post Malone White Iverson.
Okay.
And when I heard that, there's certain tracks that I hear that I can know the extent to what I can do creatively.
Right.
And you know, when you're like in a choir, choirs have a way of harmonizing their voices
Mhm.
to make the sound go longer than what it should be, but yet it sounds like you're in a in a monk monastery. You're like that monk monastery type feel where it's mm.
Mhm.
And when I hear certain beats, that I knew creatively that I could harmonize to that extent in the chorus, and that I could get that tune and get that vibe to the listener to where they're also in a state of feeling just as calm as if they are in that kind of setting. And then when I heard um, the the verses, I knew that I could add a flow to it that was catchy but still me.
Dope. Dope, 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 man. I appreciate you sharing your song, your single. I'll be on Viral Hip Hop News. Let the people know where they can stream the song, where they could purchase it. And I believe you say you have 2 albums out currently as well, right?
Yes.
Let the people know where they can find that and grab that as well.
Yeah, Spotify me, please, or Pandora me, or Deezer me, or anywhere me, LJAK, and I'll pop up Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and just dig into the vibe with me.
Indeed,
Apple
man. Well,
Music also,
you said App Title Music too?
Apple Music, iTunes,
Apple Music.
Apple Music. Yeah.
Cool. Cool, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you. We definitely appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story, your music, and your perspective here on Viral Hip Hop News. I think when you spoke about your thought, what's the word I'm looking for? Thought discrimination, excuse me. It really
Yeah.
kind of hit home, especially during the time that we're dealing with right now,
Yeah.
what we're seeing out here now. You know what I mean? We've all probably dealt with it at one point or another from a lower level, but to witness it out here
Public.
to megastars, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I definitely appreciate your perspective from your expertise. Thank you so much for that. Before we get out of here, if you have any other words, anything else you want to share, brother, the floor is yours. I appreciate you.
For sure. All the listeners, thank you for tuning in, and stay blessed. And I say this all the time, but empathize. You talked about how public it is for thought discrimination, and it's due to a lack of empathy. So, empathizing with, how one another is feeling. It's not easy. I'm not any artist of it, but it's a continual practice because we are human beings, and it is not difficult to discredit the thoughts of somebody else. But hopefully, if your thoughts are being discredited, you look for an outlet within yourself to initiate that energy outward to where it can benefit somebody else while also benefiting yourself, whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's swimming, whether it's whatever it is. Transform whatever hate that you feel into something positive so that somebody else can know that they can do the same thing.
Powerful, man. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your music. Thank you for your wisdom, brother.
Thank you.
Linwood Jackson Jr., aka L Jack, on Viral Hip Hop News Artist Spotlight. Hey, brother, take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. All right, man. Dope interview. Go stream that brother's music right now. Linwood Jackson Jr. He is on all streaming platforms. Great brother, great message. Go tap in with him. Also, if you're an artist, an entrepreneur, if you're a musician, if you have a product or a brand and you want to be highlighted here on Viral Hip Hop News, just like we just did to brother Linwood Jackson Jr., email me, sam@vhiphopnews.com, and let's have a conversation. But until next time, we got another interview coming down the line within the next hour or so. So y'all tap in for that. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Sam Ant, CEO of the brand Viral Hip Hop News. Till next time, love y'all. Love yourselves. I'm out of here.